Hello and welcome to Cracking the Rich Code, the podcast. I'm your host, John Verico, and this is a special podcast today. I know they're all special, but they're all special in different ways. This one just happens to be the first podcast recording of 2026. So happy New Year to everyone. Now, not doesn't really make a difference because these are evergreen and you can watch this at any time. It's still going to be great information, but it is kind of noteworthy on my side as being the first one for 2026. And we're starting off in a really great way. My guest today was also published in Cracking the Rich Code Volume 13 along with me. So it was really great to see somebody that I've already am familiar with what they wrote, and we'll have a great conversation. So let me bring in a leadership coach who primarily focuses in the IT industry and kind of got his start there. He's going to talk about how he grew into management positions, and we'll talk about lots of things. So please welcome Steve Walsh. Steve, how are you today?
Doing good, John. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, right? What a great way to start the year off.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody's still recovering from New Year's. We're working.
Yeah, well, there it is, but I don't consider this work because I get so much out of these conversations and getting to have the opportunity to deep dive with fellow authors in the Cracking the Rich Code series. I love doing this. So, and I loved your chapter. So we're gonna talk about all kinds of things. So first of all, let's just kind of start off. Tell the world a little bit about who Steve Walsh is and kind of what you do and how you evolved to where you are now.
Yeah. Um, so I started out as a developer. I was early adapter for computers. They in my high school they took the typing class and converted that to a keyboarding class slash computer class, right? And I remember.
Oh, wow, that makes you so much younger.
Yeah. this this
I was
lady.
a manual typewriters.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Well, this lady, she was kind of a short, older lady trying to teach computers, and about 3 weeks into the class, I was up in front of the room teaching it. So,
Wow.
so she saw what I was doing in the back of the room on these TRS-80s, and she was like, "Well, how do you do that?" And I was like, well, just simple stuff. So I started as a developer with databases. One of the companies I worked for right out of the gate was the company that delivered phone books. So you can imagine, they're no longer around. Things have changed a lot. So
You know
and
what's
then
odd, actually, in my community, we have one. A hard
the phone.
copy phone book that they
Do
issue
you?
every year. Yeah. Yeah. Well, York, PA, so we're kind of a little backward here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, New York. Well, the company had like 70% of the market for phone book delivery, so probably saw your record someplace along the lines. So, but I actually switched over to Great Plains software and went to their consulting team. Now, Great Plains is no longer available. Their software is still out there, and it's under the Microsoft banner. So Microsoft purchased Great Plains many years ago, and so I became a Microsoft employee on their consulting team. And my focus was around development and technical aspects,
Mhm.
and that's really where my chapter, the story of my chapter, started. Is I was working, just doing everything right, putting in the late hours, getting all the certifications, volunteering for the hard projects, right, taking on extra responsibilities, and yet I watch these newer people come in, train them in some cases, and watch them get promoted into management. And
And you're
you
like,
know,
"Why not me?"
yeah, I was like, I'm doing something wrong. So, and what I found is it's really about people will promote others that they can relate to, right? They can look at, who do I see as a manager? Who do I see sitting at the management table with me? And those are the people that they promote. Well, when they looked at me, they saw, techie, right? They saw a
Right,
programmer,
right.
right?
You were the super techie guy. You had all the skills and the qualifications, but
Right. When they thought of who can lead a team, manage a team, they thought of other people, but who can solve a really difficult technical problem, they'd call me. But I wanted to get into the management side.
yeah.
So,
Well, it's interesting that you say that because so many of us focus on, whatever skill set that we
mhm,
are, whatever our job function is, and we look to be the best we can be in that field,
right,
and then expect that that's going to, get us recognition and promotion. And it's all great. You should strive to be the best in your field.
right,
If you want to move into management, you do have to make some changes. But and at the same time, there are people who wind up in management just simply because they're the most senior person around, or because they get there because they are the most highly qualified as a technician, and then they find that they fail in a
right,
management position because they have not developed those other skills that are needed.
correct. And that kind of leads into why I started coaching leaders, is because once I became a director in the consulting area, I was watching the other teams promote their people. So they were promoting the ones that were staying late, that were putting in the hours, that were getting certifications, and so they were promoting them to be the team manager. Well, they were really good at what they did, not necessarily managing other people, right?
Yes.
So and they would focus like, okay, I'm a manager, but I don't know what to do, right? I'm
Yeah.
just going to focus in on what I know. And when they did that, they neglected their team. So I was like, there's got to be a happy middle here.
Yeah. And there's so much more to that too, because you know, when you're one of the guys in the shop, so to
Hmm.
speak, right? And then all of a sudden you're now promoted to a management position. You can't treat the same way as they were when they were just your coworkers. And at the same time, you have to be seen with that new level of respect. Now, Steve, I was in the Navy as an enlisted guy, and as I'm coming up through the ranks of the enlisted, every time you got promoted, you got training on
Mm,
how to be, a petty officer, second class, or how
yeah,
to be a chief petty officer, whatever. As you were moving up, you got training to how to behave in that new level of managerial or leadership position. And most of the time, you got transferred
ah,
so that
yeah,
you so
didn't have
that
that
you
degree,
weren't working with the same people that were side by side with you. Now you have to be in charge.
right,
So you walk into a new position at a new command, and you walk in with your new rank. So you're treated at your rank. You're not treated as the bud as you were
right,
before.
right.
Of course, that doesn't happen in the corporate world. It can't happen in the corporate world.
It
Um,
it's more difficult to do the transfer, right? To have someone
yeah, yeah. You don't want to
who
keep changing
not have
companies
that
every
history,
couple of
right?
years
Yeah.
as you
Well, good.
climb the ladder.
Obviously, thank you for serving in the Navy. My dad was in the military for 20 years, and so I have a big heart for the military.
Well, thank you for his service as well. Yeah. But it's just such an interesting perspective, and you brought it out in your chapter when you talked about the fact that people don't get trained on those skills, or don't really know how to develop those skills that they need to be seen in that different light, as you were saying before,
Right.
instead of just as the technical expert.
Yeah. Yeah. So that it had to be one of the big things about um, progressing right up the ladder is becoming aware of your skills, right? So taking inventory. What do I know about myself, and potentially asking other people, how do you perceive, how do you see me, right? And
Yeah.
with that, we all have a brand, regardless of if we're conscious of it or if we're intentionally putting out our brand. Everybody has a brand, and it's interesting. So when I work with my clients, I talk to them about a brand, but it's when they are working in their career and they're just wanting to do their job, it's a mission statement. But if they flip that around and put it in a perception of what managers or their peers see them as, then it becomes their brand, right?
Nice.
So I kind of help them connect those two and say, if you want to be known for this, then you have to deliver on that, and that becomes your brand, right? And so those are the things. But when I was figuring this out, like, why am I getting passed up, right? It was, they were seeing me as a technical person, and so I was getting pigeonholed, and that
Mhm.
a lot of technical people get pigeonholed, that they only see like, you can do reports, you can do, you're really good in finance and Excel worksheets, stuff like that. So lots of people get pigeonholed in that way, and so we have to have that ability of our self-awareness of, how am I showing up, and try to make that change. For me, what in my chapter I talk about modeling, and
Yes.
so and I actually kind of learned modeling through a network marketing company, right? I was talking to the sales guys, like, yeah, if you move, you do what they do, and then eventually you can lead them in their gestures. And I'm like, okay, this is like manipulation. But what I found is that, that they other managers have to see you as another manager. And so how do you do that? You start to mimic what they do, right? And so what I
Yeah.
was seeing, I was going on site and I was noticing all the technical folks, all the people that were doing the actual work, the consulting work, were showing up in polo shirts, you know, kind of the technical uniform at the time. And I watched these managers come in and they all had blazers on. And I was like, that's something different. They're all wearing blazers, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I got to change
What
my
what
wardrobe.
is that old axiom that says dress for the part you want?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started doing that, and then I started to figure out, how do they open a meeting, right? How do they start managing the status calls, and just start working, seeing how they act in those different situations, and start adapting little pieces like that. So it was just a little bit more awareness of that. So communication became part of how I kind of transformed myself, learning that there's different styles of communication, right? You put two technical guys in a room and the acronyms are flying, and they deep dive deep into what computers are doing. And even now that I've been away from a lot of the deep dive technical stuff, I have a son. He's a programmer, and he comes at me and starts talking to me. He's like, "You gotta slow down, man. I don't even know what that stuff is." You gotta help me get back online with being a technical person, right? So, but just learning the different styles was a key. And one of the things that I really learned is, we can deliver a message, but if they're not able to hear that because they don't speak tech, or maybe they're more in the sales side, where generally those people are driving type people. Um, they're going to be a fast paced, blunt type language. And if you draw it out like, let me take you around the block before I get to the point, they're going to be like,
Yeah.
okay, we're moving on.
They're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true. And I like you point out the fact that you took the time to observe the behaviors and how people communicated. And that is it is so critical, and it's in any aspect of life, right? You look at the behaviors of those people around you, people in leadership positions. Um, some have a certain type of behavior or pattern that we might want to emulate. Other ones, maybe not so much. But we choose those behaviors that we want to emulate,
Right.
and the people we want to be like.
Right. Right. Well, and there's a skill to being able to recognize who you're talking to and what their style is, so you can quickly switch to their
Yeah.
style, right? And you can find this in different companies. So I worked for two different consulting companies, outside of the Microsoft, where it was more in the partner channel, and the culture between the two companies dictated the communication style, right?
Yes.
So it was the first group was very much blazers, high level customer facing, um, more about relationships and and the drive. Let's get to
Yes.
the point, but let's build a relationship. The second group started out as technical. Everybody there was super technical, so that's where they started their conversations, was on the technical side, and then they had a good flair of salespeople. So then they had a drive type aspect. So it was very deep dive technical, but we're going to go fast. And so picking up on those subtle differences and being able to communicate and fit into that culture
So
is
critical.
huge. Yeah.
So critical. And we're talking with Steve Walsh. Steve wrote a chapter in Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 13. Check out his chapter, Breaking into Management. We're talking about those subtle shifts that we make as technical experts in our field and how we can get into leadership positions and management work by observing the behaviors of others and the patterns and communication. I was going to say preferences, the way
Mm.
people communicate, and learning how to be able to shift gears. So, great conversation. If you have not caught it from the beginning, go back and start playing this from the beginning so you catch all of what Steve has to say. And definitely go back and check out his chapter, Breaking into Management, in volume 13 of Cracking the Rich Code. And I'm going to keep pushing volume 13 because I'm in there too. But anyway, so, Steve, go ahead and tell more about how you made this, this very intentional transformation from the technical expert to growing into management and leadership positions.
Yeah. So just kind of recap. So the first thing I did was observe and figure out why I wasn't being invited to be a manager, right? And learning and doing some modeling and figuring out change change my behavior, to mimic those, so that those managers could see me, and then learning the different communication styles so that my message was hitting home, for the different audiences I was talking to. The biggest piece, and I think this falls in line with any of the folks in our chapters, right, is the belief system, and
Yeah.
how how we believe what we can do. It's our self-talk, and are we positive or negative, right? And what's holding us back? And so that was definitely a huge thing. And in especially in the consulting side, you have a sales guy that's out there selling the organization, and then they get down to like, well, who's going to be on my project? And so then he's got to go find the people, and then he's going to present those people to the customer. Well, when that salesperson starts presenting the team, he's selling every single person in there as an expert, right? And um,
Right.
so you show up, and they're like, "Oh, you know this and that. We heard all about you." And you're like, "Uh oh." I gotta deliver on all that. I gotta show up a little bit higher than what I'm really used to, right? So there's that voice in your head, is like, I hope they don't figure me out, right? And that's that imposter syndrome, and I dealt with that a lot in consulting, where the managers and the sales team were just, they're selling you in there at a high level because they want the higher billable rate, right? They're
Well,
right,
sure.
and they want to make sure that their company is winning the bids because they've got all.
Getting the contract. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
And you're like, yeah, I hope I can uh, live up to the hype.
yep, yep. So, and that's
Yeah, I used to promote, but when I was promoting myself as a speaker and coach and stuff, I use a lot of humor in my programs, and at one point, I actually even referred to myself as a humorist.
Mm.
Ooh, bad thing to do. As soon as you say, really, as soon as you say you tell jokes, people go, "Oh, tell me a joke, make me laugh." Like, oh my god! And so what was happening is sometimes in the introductions, people would, kind of lean into
Mm.
a certain aspect of my background, and now I've got to perform at this level. God forbid I have come out here and tell. Now I'm talking about a very serious topic today, but they've just set it up that they're going to be expected to be drawn to laughter. I'm like, okay, well, can I live up to this? Can I make them
Yeah.
laugh? Am I going to be able to do this? And it's so true, right? We get that no matter how good we become at things, we do always, I think, have a little bit of that imposter syndrome in us to say, hey, can I live up to this?
Right.
But and what you started to talk about, and what you talk about in your chapter, is you've got to believe in yourself,
Yeah.
and that will show.
Yep. Yep. For sure. And one of the unique things that I do with my clients early in my coaching journey, I discovered that we're all put here on earth to serve each other, but we all do it slightly different, right? And a good way to look at this, you have two two waiters, same restaurant, same menu, and
Mm-hmm.
they can they're trained the same way. They both are fantastic, but one for some reason gets better tips, better scores than the other one, right? And it's because that person that's doing the better work is living in his purpose, even though it's the same work, right? And so uh, when I discovered this, uh, I actually changed. I changed my career. I went I went from being a um, being more on the delivery of the technical side to customer care.
Mm-hmm.
So I switched from diving into like let's solution your programming for this to running a support organization. And what I found is,
Cracking different kind of code
yeah,
altogether, right?
yeah, I learned that
To use the pun.
exactly. I learned that I like to give people joyful experiences, right? So with computers, if I can explain to someone how it works or help them with the program, and there was no bugs, I was giving them a joyful experience, right? And
Right.
um, so there's a formula that I take people through a process to help them figure this out. But once I switched, I went to became a customer care manager of an IT consulting company, and my career just took off because I was living in that purpose. And so it was like this extra layer of like, wow, this this makes a difference. So and I find, and I've changed companies because I got to a point where that being able to give a joyful experience to my team or to my customers, when that got blocked, I was miserable. I was like, I
Right.
can't do my job. And they're like, what are you talking? You're
Yep, I
yeah,
know that feeling. I
yeah,
know that feeling. Yeah, so true.
yeah. So that's a unique
So
piece, and that lines up with that when setting up the mission statement for that individual. How can you live to that
right.
purpose, and then how do other people see you with that brand? So,
Steve, you've got man, I can't believe we're almost out of time. You've got a great heart, and really are looking to help people. And you kind of hinted at a little process that you take people through, and I imagine that they can learn a little bit about that on your website. But would you like to give people just a little hint of what working with you would be like? And by the way, check out Steve's website, tobeexceptional.com. That is the number two, the letter B, exceptional.com. Steve, go ahead and kind of just give us a little tidbit. What's it like to work with you?
well, That's a good question. I'm not sure if I have a good answer on that.
Well, tell us a little bit about kind of what you take people
Yeah.
through the
So
process of discovery.
the I had it's a 5-step process I do have. The acronym I'm starting to come up with now is called CLAIM. So
Ooh.
uh, it just came about just over the last week. So I don't even know if I can articulate the what the acronym is right now, but what I generally start with is what are we working on? What's the purpose, right? So getting clarification of where we're going. And generally it's like what do you want your career to look like in 1 year's time? So getting real clear on what that end end point is. Right?
Mhm.
And then the second piece that I want people to really understand is developing that mission statement, right? So it's leading with mission. And
Mhm.
so I'll take them through that discovery of what their why is, and we'll figure out what how do they serve in that unique way, and come up with a phrase or a word that describes them, and then we'll build out the mission statement of what problem are they solving in the market and how they solve it, and so we build out that mission statement for them. The second is really taking an assessment of their inventory, and the inventory is their skill set. So they got you got technical skills, and you have the soft skills, right? So is do you need to work on your communication? Is it leading a meeting or a room or a presentation? And then the part of that assessment is networking. So who do you
Yeah.
know, right? Because that's a huge thing. But I always emphasize it's not necessarily like who you know, but who do you not know that should be in your
Yes. Perfect.
right? So we got to get the right people in your network and start building that relationship, right? So, and then the fourth step is really initiating action. So putting that all into place, and that could be learning how to become consistent with action. It could be talking about time management tools and techniques to make sure that your action is maintainable. And then the last step is the M, which is maintain momentum. And that
Oh,
momentum is fighting what I call FUD. And FUD is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that's getting rid of those negative self-talk, figuring out what's going on in subconscious mind, and let's flesh it out and get it out of there so that's not sabotaging our careers. So
love
with
it.
claim, you can claim your position, you can claim your time back, you can claim leadership, you can claim high performance. So there's a lot there that I've it's all kind of coming together the last few days here about what claim is all about. So,
That's great. That is great. And that's easy to acronyms are easy for us to remember too.
right,
And it helps people to remind folks of what they need to do. And I really love some of the things that you pointed out, especially initiating action, because so many of us we go through all this affirmation and assessment and stuff, and we figure, okay, but we forget to take that next step of actually starting stuff.
right,
And the most critical, I think, of all of is the M that you mentioned, which is maintaining momentum. And so we'll get started, but we don't keep it up.
right.
And that's key, right? If you're going to get anywhere, you really need to maintain momentum and keep things going. Steve, this has been a great conversation. People can check out your website, which is tobeexceptional.com. And for those of you who aren't seeing this on the screen or only listening to it, is the number 2, the letter B, exceptional.com. And Steve's chapter is in Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 13, and that is called Breaking into Management. Steve, this has been a fantastic conversation. And if people want to get in touch with you, I think LinkedIn, you said, was one of the best ways to do that. They can go to your website as well and connect with you there, but connect with you on LinkedIn and look for you as Walsh Steve.
Yep.
Actually, you can put in Steve Walsh, but then you've got to track down which Steve Walsh it
That's
is.
right.
But if you
Handsome
go
looking
to
one.
Walsh Steve, there you go. There you go. It's the dapper dude with the glasses. There you go. Steve, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on the Cracking the Rich Code podcast. Thank you for sharing your expertise in volume 13 of the Cracking the Rich Code series and your chapter Breaking into Management. And even more so, thank you for giving us just that little preview hint into what it's like to work with you and your acronym of CLAIM, which talks about clarification, leading into mission, assessing your skills, initiating action, and maintenance. Great stuff, Steve. I look forward to seeing where you take this and then watching you as you develop all these great things for people out there. So everybody get in touch with Steve. Check out his chapter in volume 13. Have a great day. Happy New Year to all. And Steve, thank you again for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, John. Let's be exceptional.
I love it. Take care. Have a great day.